if we have a company like Embark that is able to sort of explode and have 20 locations and they're in multiple states, guess what? That's what you want, because they have a community approach. All of the brands that they carry in their locations are small, mom and pop, local, blah, all of that stuff. That's what we fucking need in this industry.
That's what I need. That's what I love.
Got it.
Yeah, that's what I love to go into, man, and see these shops. I don't like going to the ones in Vegas, bro, is gross. Like, it is the most ridiculous consumer experience in the world. People are like, oh my God, this is so cool. I'm like, this sucks. Get me out of here. Like, I'll never pay that. I'll never pay that. You know, that sucks, by the way. Like, you know, you just go through and you see how people view or how they platform. And that was what it was like in the beginning. Like I said, when it was just medical dispensaries, dude. That was that mom and pop feel. That's where you could walk in, sit with the dude and go,
talk, see the flower, smell the flower, look at the fucking flower, hold the damn flower. I would walk
in with my jars to sell, right? We all got I still got my whole closet's jars, bro. I mean, you just get it, you snip it, you change it, and you can't even do that shit anymore. It's these weird tester thing. That's all.
Weird laws and shit.
That's also, you know, it's like hospital. Like, it's all so clean and like has to be. It's so lame.
Which, you know what? In certain aspects, I understand, right? Because it is, people do very much consider it only medicine. And I understand that. That's our culture, right? Clean everything all the time, bleach, you know, all of that stuff. I get it. But at the same time, people also need to realize that it is a plant, where it comes from, how it's grown. You know, all of us have been consuming this thing for thousands of years and we never had it tested. So it's important to kind of realize and keep it in perspective. Now, we want to grow as an industry and there's ways and stuff that we have to do that, you know, laws and regs wise. And I get that. But I think everyone just needs to also keep always in mind what cannabis really has always been and what it truly is. And yes, it is medicine. That doesn't mean it's clean room medicine all the time.
Right. And it just doesn't have to be this always buttoned up, white counters, white lights, you know, like you can walk in and but you can't because states have gotten involved, because government oversight has gotten involved. You can't just do what you and I want to do. Like on our road trip that I told you about, it was dope, but you could be in spots where you were like, all right, this is a little bit corporate. And then you got in spots that you were like, okay, this feels like a cool kind of old kick it. Guy was busting out jars and we're like, all right, cool.
There you go.
You know, this feels good, but that was in Oregon, you know, where in
of course it was.
We were like, you know, specific, you know, so
no doubt.
Cool you know what to figure out, but.
So in Colorado, one of my favorite cities in the world or little towns in the world is called Ouray. And they don't allow any cannabis businesses inside the town itself, the city. But right across the line is Ridgeway. And there's a little mom and pop mountain shop right there who was growing out back when I was there one time. They opened up the jars for me, let me smell. I was like, God, yes, this, please, more of this. The shop is as big as my office, bro. But I loved it. I fucking loved it, man. And it was personal. She came out from behind the counter, handed me the big jar, opened it up. I was like, God, thank you so much. That's the way it should be.
I agree, man. It's a hands-on. It has the opportunity to be the coolest buying experience for any actual consumer.
100%.
Unfortunately, right now it's tied up in government regulations, which is annoying. But they should, as time goes on, some of that stuff should change ultimately, especially if federal things happen and everything else. But so, Dustin, here's the question, right? We know where you came from. We know what you like. We know what you're into. But what are you thinking about right now? What's going on in your mind right now about the state of the industry? Something you want to talk about that you feel like people watching this show should know and hear from your perspective?
So I think a big one that I was focusing on earlier this year with the state of Oregon, and something that I'm going to be writing about more of, there's actually two things. One is the testing aspect. And I know you and I kind of, quickly breezed through that.
We did.
But I think, and I'm just going to talk about this briefly, I think the testing aspect is going to morph because of the things that happened in Oregon around Aspergillus.
Yeah.
So I think that conversation is going to continue to grow around the country, which is a really good conversation to have. I'm actually working on a piece about the people that were on the ground in Oregon, and I'm probably going to release that in our health and wellness edition. It has nothing to do with anything but the actual people on the ground that were dealing with that. So all positive light and telling who they are, their stories, and sort of what they went through.
Because I really heard about it last year out of Colorado, when Colorado had passed some legislation basically saying, hey, look, we need to look at the mold. Yeah, we need to make sure it's cool. But as most politicians like to do, you don't just say one thing, you got to squeeze other shit in there. And they were by the way, let's make sure we're talking about the THC levels and we're being more specific about all of that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And to that point, right? Like one of the sales points when we were out on our road trip, guy in Oregon's like, yeah, dude, this is 44%. I looked at my wife, I'm like,
bullshit.
Fuck out of here. This is not even right. So I get it. Like I get from a consumer perspective, but I'm not that guy. I'm not the guy who walks in, and I used to be very, very young. I'd be like, yeah, top shelf, highest, whatever. Then you realize none of that shit means anything.
Please don't tell me THC levels over fucking 20%. I don't care. If you tell me something has 40%, I'm walking out.
Dude,
I'm
we
walking
almost
the
did.
fuck
I was
out.
like, look, if I wasn't running short from our last stop, I would probably not buy from this guy. But yeah,
I'm
because
walking
you
out.
don't feel, it doesn't feel legitimate. It
I
feels
don't
so
care.
like fake. But all right,
Yeah,
so testing, and I didn't hear about the Oregon thing. I have not, all I've been really hearing about is the Colorado thing. But
Yeah.
myself, I have a little bit of mold in my bloodstream. And so my doctor recently was like, yeah, it's probably from your weed. I'm like, wait, what did you just say? He's like, well, I'm like, no way. So it's this whole ongoing, like, it's gross, bro. It's gross.
That's
So,
interesting. Are you
yeah.
fucking serious right now?
Dude, I wish I was, bro. I wish I was lying to you.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
And I'm fortunate my shirt is specific. So this is where I get everything from. So I was like, well, even if so, like pretty legit, long-standing operation, kind of know the farmers, kind of know the deal.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I'm gonna guess. I'm like, dude, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, but
Anyway,
you know what people, depending on what kind of mold it is, I'm not going to guess, so we won't get into it. But we are constantly ingesting mold. We breathe it all day long, every day.
dude.
When you
Every
eat a
part of your
salad, you're
life.
probably eating mold. When you eat
I
bread,
saw 75% of houses in the US have mold in them. Like it's this
Dude.
whole ongoing, like, and it'll give
Your
you cancer
shower.
too. Like,
your shower, no matter how clean it is, I promise you, has mold spores all up in that motherfucker. And it's just how it is, dude. But anyway, I digress.
Anyways, not what we're talking about. So with
Yeah.
with the Oregon deal, where does your passion come from on that? Is it something that like was it? Or can you give us all like a real quick for those of us who don't know the Oregon story?
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin your release either. But can you highlight us just what the situation is?
Yeah, basically the state was going to implement some zero detect testing when it come to Aspergillus, and the people that were going to really benefit from that remediation companies were really excited. Let's just say that. And they tend to, they sort of were trying to help that process along with the state.
Yes.
And what happened was, and this is what really got my attention, people on the ground, small farmers got together and filed a lawsuit and to stop that bullshit, because they found that all the evidence that they used that the state used to sort of come up with this zero detect was bogus and bullshit. There are no real studies done showing cannabis causes any sort of Aspergillus issues at all. Aspergillus is everywhere. We breathe it all day long, every day. It's something that is just, you cannot get away from. It affects very limited amount of people that are immunocompromised. So it is important to make sure that you're minimizing the risk, right, as much as you can. But the state was about to
mold in your house, get rid of it. All right,
exactly.
Like, Dustin's not sitting here to tell you live in fucking filth.
No,
all he's simply saying to you is that you could live in the most clean house in the world, and likely you have mold somewhere within your vicinity.
So there is no proof anywhere. That everyone needs to realize this. There's no proof anywhere that Aspergillus is that's on cannabis or possibly on your cannabis is causing any real issues. There are no studies or anything else. I don't even know of any correlations anywhere whatsoever. And the evidence that was quote unquote used for the state to come up with this zero detect was BS. So the small people on the ground, the small mom and pop farmers, the small shop owners, all of those folks got together, pulled their money, and shit's expensive to do this. And they pushed back against the state. They fought back against the state, and they got to stay. And basically, from what I understand, it's probably going to be a permanent fixture so that there will be none of this zero detect Aspergillus bullshit. And from that decision, what should happen is the rest of the states, people in those states now have the firepower to push back on all of this BS testing that is making it so that growers have to spend all this extra money on remediation. Remediation kills the profile of the bud. We all know this. Your plant does not taste the same, smoke the same, give the same type of medicine. The reactions within the body are not the same. We know this for a fact. I don't care what anyone tells you. We have real evidence from small farmers that have gone through every remediation process possible to test their own weed over and over again. That's what happened in Oregon. So they had this team. Everybody had very specific things that they were doing. One of them was to go through every single remediation process to see if it would then help them pass the test, which it did not, and then see if it would affect the profile, the flavor, the smell, all of it, of the plant, in which it did drastically every time. So that in itself is a huge story. And I want to make sure that people understand that and get to read about it. And so they have firepower in other states to push back. And these remediation companies aren't from, most of them, I'll say not all of them, most of them are not actually from the cannabis community, the culture. They don't really understand why their products and the way that they push are such a big deal to us. And it's such a slap in the face. So that's part of the problem. But I think this Oregon testing debacle is a way to sort of wake them up and say, oh shit, people are actually listening, watching. they're learning how to fight back and push back against this fucking crony capitalist nonsense is what's really going on with these companies coming in and pushing on the buttons of lobbying is what this stuff is really. It's influencing in ways these bodies, these state bodies, these regulators to do certain things that would benefit those companies.
That's part of our problem. This regulatory mix, the people in these regulations, this whole thing is fucked. They got people making too many deals. Michigan's had problems. Colorado's got problems. Rhode Island's already got an issue. I mean, it's, it leads to political corruption, right? One way or another. If somebody could push this or get an extra 50 here or do something there, they're going to do it. So these committees at these state levels are pretty fucking terrifying. And they go through a lot more turmoil than the booze side of the world.
So let's keep this in mind as well. Even if they're not benefiting directly financially, right? They are overwhelmed in the amount of shit that they are supposed to be doing, that a lot of them just don't have the time and they want to educate themselves. So the easier the information is presented to them, which a lot of these companies know, they just give it to them, they feed them information, and from there, these bodies kind of react on that information. So if we're not involved with giving them the correct information, regardless of whether or not they're getting paid, backdoor deals or anything else, they're going to pass legislation or regulations that don't make sense because they're not getting the proper information from the people on the ground. This Oregon thing proves that. It shows what can be done to fight back against the nonsense of regulations that we have, and it gives this other states firepower to be able to push back on those tests. So that's just a brief thing. I didn't want to talk about that in depth.
That's cool. But you did name drop the health and wellness. Any idea when folks can expect that to come out?
Yeah, sometime in February.
All right. Yep. Well, excellent. That's,
and then the other thing, the one thing that I've really focused on here and wanted to talk about more of was what I was able to do all last week with my entire team here at Fat Nugs. And that was go to Jamaica and go to a place called Coral Cove Wellness, man. I'll tell you what, I have never, so my entire life I have always dreamed of a place where I can smoke and eat and be in the sun and do sporting activities and walk around free like it's no big deal.
I can cannabis tourism, bro, where cannabis is a part of every step of the journey. Because 100%. I've been to Jamaica and I had to get weed all kinds of fucked up ways. It wasn't easy. It wasn't very good, if we're all being honest with each other at all. It was super damp, probably full of mold. And at the end of the day, I ended up having more of time at, Miss Brown's Tea House than I did with the actual cannabis itself. But yeah, bro, when I saw your post, I saw what you guys were doing. Daniel Crawford, right? I think I have that right.
Yep. That's my chief hype officer.
Dude, and you couldn't have hired a better one, bro. The dude gets it. This morning he made a post about like the science behind the smells and some of the other shit going on. Like the guy, the Terp Whisperer, I believe.
He's our terpene whisperer.
Yeah, either he nicked himself that or someone else did. Either way, the dude's approach is awesome. So he started posting about it similarly to you did. And then one of you put up a picture where it was like you guys were just in the middle of a beautiful little grow and you were just looking. You were just taking it in somewhere else, which meant to me that somewhere over here, someone was holding a joint or passing a joint. Somewhere over here was a restaurant. And this was all one cool place to hang out. So let's start with this. How the fuck did you find this place?
So how did I find this place? I actually found this place, I think 2 years ago. I started to do some research because I was hired by a company or that was partnered with another company that I was working with out of Thailand. And they wanted us and me specifically to help them with their change over from just being a hotel in Thailand in Koh Samui to being a health and wellness resort that focused on plant medicine and more specifically cannabis. So I got to do some research, some dope research. I found Coral Cove online. I have some mutual connections to the place as well through LinkedIn and some other places. And I just started to learn what it is that they were doing. Now, at this point, 2 years ago, I didn't realize where I would be right now. I hadn't yet created Fat Nugs. I was sort of just doing some stuff in the space. And fast forward 2 years later, now that we have Fat Nugs and we're a full media company and all that stuff, obviously this thing opens up some doors that I never thought would ever be open to me. What that means is Coral Cove, their PR person reached out and said, hey, we would love to invite you guys down as a media company so we can show you what it is that we're doing. And immediately I was like, holy shit, this is what I've always wanted the opportunity to be able to do. And I get to bring on the entire team with me. This place, and I'm going to tell you from start to finish how it goes. You ready for this? Because I'm going to blow your fucking mind with this.
I can't wait. I got to know everything about it. My wife and I have a weird rule about not going back somewhere we've already been because we haven't been everywhere yet.
Oh, dude, you haven't been here.
But I've been to Jamaica, but I'm gonna supersede that rule, and I'm probably gonna go back. So
you've been to Jamaica. You have not had an authentic Jamaican experience until you go here.
All right, here we go. Tell us how it goes.
So it was about a 2.5-hour flight, first of all, from Atlanta to Jamaica, which is fucking dope, right? I live in Atlanta, so it's like I wake up and I'm there. It's super simple. The ride, getting into the airport, super easy. It was quick. I mean, I was in and out of the airport in like 10 minutes. It wasn't a big deal. The ride, as soon as we get outside, there's a bar. I grab the red stripe, and our driver comes up, hands us joints. We get into the van. They try
to hand me weed under the toilet seat. You know, when I inquired with my driver, he's like, "Yeah, go to stall 1 under the tank, bro."
So Coral Cove sends their drivers and their van, and they have the place they have a dispensary on site, so they have their own stuff, right? Their own supply. Yeah. So they give their drivers a bag full of joints to hand to us all as we get in, and we start down our 2-hour-long trip. It's a 2-hour-long drive into the mountain countryside, basically. Halfway through, and it's the craziest driving I've ever been around or been a part of. I would be normally scared shitless, but these dudes, they're chill and relaxed, and we're all smoking and getting high and having fun and talking, because this is the first time all of us have met ever on the team, all of us together, which is fucking dope.
It's so cool though, dude. I love the internet. It's so
in another country, first time I've met most of these folks, which is really cool. So halfway through the trip, we stop off at this little shack on the side of the road, and we get jerk chicken. We sit there for an hour and chill and talk and learn and stuff, right? It's really cool. The chicken was great. And then we go on about our journey. When we pull in to this place, it's sort of unexpected, because you're in a very, very poor area where there is nothing. I mean, it's countryside.
It's a depressing, either direction you go. I went 2 hours from the airport onto our resort, and you go through the same thing. You're like, I feel bad for being here. Like it's weird on your body, just how it makes you feel.
It is. And if you're not thinking about that, you're an idiot. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. Then you're just a soulless,
you're an asshole.
Yeah, you really are. Because you're driving past, you're thinking, man, I hope where I'm going impacts these people. Clearly it does not. But you wish that it would.
And I had conversations real quick, just sidebar, before we get into the resort. So I asked, what is it like? Because I see people just tossing trash and stuff on the side of the road and all that, and it's no big deal. And I'm like, so, tell me about that, because I know in a lot of places, for instance, Japan, there are people that will walk by and pick up a wrapper. It doesn't even matter where it came from, and it goes in the trash. Like, it's clean, right? You can eat off their streets. And here in the US, we like to throw things away, even though we do have some littering issues and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, most of our cities are halfway clean. Let's just say that. But when you go to Jamaica, you see that there is trash all over the place. It's everywhere. So I asked, what's going on with that? And just very curious, not in any kind of judgmental way. I just wanted to know. And so he said, so we do have trash service, but they come sporadically. It's every couple of months. And it's been about 6 months since the last time they come. So it's not on the people, right? They have nothing else to do. There are no huge garbage cans. They can't go anywhere and throw their stuff away. So what is the option?
Right. So, there are no garbage dumps. Here in the US, we have, millions of miles for them. So
exactly. Yeah. So, and when they come, I asked, so what do? They not only pick up the trash cans if they exist, but they pick up all of the trash that's on the side of the roads as well. So they're picking up all the garbage and stuff as they're doing that. So it does get cleaned. It really does. So when people, I would hate for people to go to Jamaica and sort of judge the scenery by that immediate moment, when in fact it's not the people's doing, right? Yeah. It's just sort of how the government runs on a small island that doesn't have a lot of money. That's just how it is. That's the life.
And a lot of room for waste. It is what
Bingo.
It is. Yeah,
and they incinerate it all anyway. So anyway, we pull up to the resort, and you get in, and this place opens up. There are, trees everywhere. It's very natural. The architecture is very much ingrained into the scene in which you're looking at. So it looks like like it should be there. There are greenhouses along the back. There are areas that they're growing herbs and all of that stuff. They have 2 main buildings and 2 little cottages off by themselves on this sprawling piece of land as well. There are 20 total rooms. They check us in. It's super simple. And because we pretty much have the whole resort to ourselves, 20 rooms, I brought down 14 people total. So we have the resort to ourselves. It's the perfect cannabis industry getaway for you and your team.
Yeah.
It is the most magnificent thing that you can do. So here's how it works. First of all the rooms are very quaint. They look like your basement that you're in right now. Yeah. They're wood. They're nice. It's wood and white, right? The beds are white. It's wood, that kind of stuff. The outside is very much white. And again, the architecture is very free flowing and natural. So it's dope looking. All of your meals are at set times. So you have 3 meals a day at set times, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, all authentic Jamaican food, all really, really good. By the way, my stomach felt great while I was there. When I got back home and started to eat our food again, I immediately had fucking stomach issues. Dude. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. So the Jamaican food was good. So we would all get together as a team. It's like an adult camp. is what this is.
Well, that's what I think you may have even said that, where it was like an adult weed camp. Where you're
Yeah,
just like,
exactly.
cool.
By the way, you walk into your room and they have your joints laid out. They have joints laid out for you, waiting for you there. They have a rolling tray, a grinder, and then you have an ordering form. So you can order whatever it is that you want from their dispensary, including mushrooms. So the entire time you're there, they ask you, would anyone like any mushrooms? Would anyone like any mushroom tea? Dried mushrooms? Would you like it in a smoothie? Here are the differences that we have. Cambodian. What were the ones that we had? We had three. What was it? Golden Teacher. There were a few that we had, so we were able to pick from 3 or 4 different types of mushrooms.
Did you experience the tea? How did you consume?
I had tea and I had a smoothie.
The tea is crazy. Like it hit for me. It like hit, and I'm like, "What is it?" Then it hits the back of my throat, and I'm like, "Oh, there it was." Like,
there it is.
That isn't the same way going. That's all right. So this is order form for all this. You're sitting.
Yeah, but they're also walking around, and so anybody walking around, if you want something, you just say, "Hey, can I order something?" And they'll be like, "Yeah," or they'll just come up to you and say, "Hey, does anybody want any mushrooms, or is anybody thinking about having a mushroom day or whatever?"
And Dustin, is this a part of what you've already or would essentially have paid? Like this is like no, you have to pay extra when these certain things come up, or it's
so I don't
in that way.
So because we were we were there as a media group. It didn't work exactly the same as it normally would. So you pay for your room, and then when you're there, you pay for your weed or your mushrooms. It's all very cheap.
So it's not inclusive in that way, or all inclusive. It's something that you ad hoc as needed, as wanted.
Correct. Now, don't quote me on this, but there might be an option for an all-inclusive, and what that all-inclusive includes, I'm not sure.
I mean, there should be. I haven't been there yet.
I'm sure there is.
Model, but there should be.
I'm sure there is. I didn't dive that far into it. I didn't have to, because I knew what we were getting into to begin with. But anything. So cool, oh, are you kidding me? And everything is very inexpensive, dude. Like all the extra mushrooms and weed that I needed ended up costing me like $250 for the entire week I was there, bro.
Easy.
And I smoked.
No problem.
I smoked constantly all day in my bed, as I'm walking around, as I got up, as I was eating breakfast, lunch, as I was fucking paddling on my kayak, as I was doing yoga. We were smoking joints. We ate mushrooms and then did yoga in the morning as you're next to the fucking sea. And she was giving us a sound bath at the same time. It's the most amazing experience you could ever want to have as a fucking stoner or someone who loves cannabis. I'm not kidding. Or mushrooms, period. And wants to be on the water and wants to have a pool and wants to be able to do some hiking. We went to a place called Waba's Farm. Waba is one of the premier growers. He's a gray grower, right? He's not a part of the legal side of what they do in Jamaica. So the Jamaican legal side, and we'll talk about quality of weed because I know that you mentioned that. The legal side of weed is almost like the booth that we have here for corporate cannabis. It's very much controlled. It has to be, meet certain requirements and regulations and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of times you're going to get dry. The quality would be really great if it wasn't dry. Okay. Let's just say that. So what we were able to do was one of the growers that was on site at Coral Cove that they had like 5 years ago. His name is Waba. He went off and started to do his own thing about I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, to be honest with you, maybe not 5 years ago. And what he's done was create a mountain farm that he grows some of the most amazing shit that you could ever want to smoke. And he hadn't been to Coral Cove in 3 years. He heard that we were coming, so he made the trek down twice. He brought first of all, he brought a pound of his, like, it's called World Series. It's a beautiful, beautiful strain. And we smoked it out of something called an idle steam chalice. Never heard of it before, never seen one before. It's the oldest, most traditional way to consume cannabis on the island. And it's the original vaporizer. You're not burning the weed, you're vaporizing it. He actually gave me one, dude. Wow. I was blown away. And anyway, we ended up hiking up his mountain, looking at his grow. Again, smoking with him. We ended up having 3 different smoke sessions with him, me and the entire team. It was just fucking really cool experience. And it's the real side of Jamaica, right? These are the people that actually know what they're doing, know how to grow. They know how to speak about cannabis like we've never heard. And what's really weird is, like, he was talking about terpenes and I was, and all the other things that, we never really get to talk about back in the day. And this guy is in Jamaica up in the mountains doing this. So he understands weed, right? They took care of us at that place at Coral Cove like I had never been taken care of before. I've been to 5-star resorts And I love to stay in nice places, of course. I think a lot of us enjoy that. But it's never been one where I've been comfortable where with my weed consumption, I'm having to hide or whatever. I had to purchase from someone on a beach or whatever. And it was always shit and cost a lot. Coral Cove is a place where actual weed people, stoners, can go 100% of the time and be yourself. You'd be welcomed. You're invited everywhere. The culture or the community around you benefits from Coral Cove being there because everyone is local that's working there. You get to interact with the community. You get to do sporting stuff, kayaking and paddleboard. And I snorkeled twice. They have beautiful coral reefs everywhere around the property. And there are you don't see big boats, no big ships. It's quiet. It's fucking beautiful, dude. It's the only place I have ever been to in my entire life. And from what I understand, it's the only place on this planet that exists the way that it does, where your entire day can be consumed with plant medicine while enjoying an actual resort. I have never in my life been a part of that before. By the way, they have several bars on site,
Sure.
and you can drink and stuff if you want. I mean, so it's something where I've always wished for this my entire life. And to actually go through with experiencing it blew my fucking mind. And I have never felt better when I've come home from a trip. Usually I'm like, okay, I guess I'm ready to go back home, get back into swing of things or whatever. Dude, I didn't want to fucking leave. The last morning I'm sitting downstairs smoking I bought 3 more joints for my last morning there. It was that I didn't want to leave. By the way, most of us got up at like 6 a.m. It's just natural. The sun comes up. We're meeting for coffee every morning as a team and just talking and bullshitting. And, oh yeah, we want our tea. Who wants tea today? Who wants fucking, dried mushrooms today? And it's just a very chill, casual, enlightening experience because we're all adults. Well, we're not there tripping our fucking balls off, running around, being
we're not children here. We're adults trying to enjoy what adults. I mean, there's plenty of adult only places to go drink your head off for days on end with this. Dude, you have to send me who I should call or connect with to get hooked up with a spot there, because it sounds absolutely amazing. And for the whole team, like for a team building exercise for your industry, for your background, to be in a place like that is just it's got to be so magical. I mean, it's got to resonate with all of you for forever.
Oh, it blew our minds. It really did. We kept saying this, like, we can't believe we're doing this, while we're doing it. Seriously, it was just really fucking chill. And if you have a good team and everybody gets along and we love each other, it just made everything like we were at camp and everybody felt at home and peaceful. And we were locked into our own little world there, enjoying everything every single day, every moment. The weather was absolutely perfect. Obviously it's hot and sticky and muggy, but
but it's sunny and beautiful, and you get to enjoy
sunny and beautiful. Exactly, dude. And it was the greatest travel experience I've ever had in my life. And I'm not kidding. It's not even close.
That sounds amazing, dude. You've been so gracious with your time. I really appreciate it. Like I say, being guest number 1 is important to me to make sure I chose correctly. Clearly I have. So I really appreciate you delivering on that. Hey man, where can people find you if they want to learn more about you and the Fat Nugs magazine?
Yeah, man. I'm all over LinkedIn. We have our Instagram, our Fat Nugs Mag Instagram page. fatnugsmag.com is our website. And then we also have a LinkedIn Fat Nugs page as well. So we have enough coverage in a couple of different social media places that you can definitely find us.
You will find it. Like I said, we'll be blasting this out everywhere once it goes live. Dustin, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're going to make this as guest-heavy show as possible. No one needs to hear me talk about how much I love weed. You need to hear from people in this industry, why they're in it, why they have the passion. Thank you so much. And in the way Dustin thinks about it, I'm going to probably end all my shows this way moving forward. Let's all work together to elevate the plant to its rightful place in society. Thank you all so much. Have a great day.
Hell yeah.
Great job, dude. Fucking killed it.
Thanks, brother. Hey, that was a great outro, by the way. That's fucking phenomenal.
It's good. I'm gonna write that one down. That was solid. Really
dude, that's a great way. Fucking all come together, work together to elevate the plant to its rightful place in the society. I love that. It's a great way to end the episode.
Excellent, dude. Yeah, like I said, we're hoping to launch this on Bye.